No, 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 no.
Hey YouTube, welcome back to another episode of Vin Plays Fantasy Football. This will be the Week 3 Starters show. So let's go ahead and look over my roster here. Let me go over first who I picked up off of waivers. This was a very busy waiver week. There was a lot of handcuffs, just because of all the injuries that happened last week. There was a lot of handcuffs that I anticipated coming off the board. Seeing how deep we are at running back, I didn't really feel the need to make too many bids on any of the handcuffs. Mostly I just put on bids for. I put in a $10 bid on Mike Davis, who is Christian McCaffrey's handcuff. I also put on a bid for Devontae Freeman, I think like $5. Very low bids, just more so so these players aren't gone for free. But I ended up dropping Paris Campbell because Paris Campbell did get hurt last week and he is going to be missing multiple weeks. At least that's the forecast for him so far. So as far as our waiver wire period for this week, it's relatively quiet. I ended up dropping Paris Campbell for the Indianapolis defense here. I anticipate they'll be pretty good against anybody playing New Jersey right now is going to be pretty good. Le'Veon Bell is still injured. We still don't know whether or not Sterling Shepard's going to be back. And not only that team is just in total disarray. So we picked up the Indianapolis Colts defense here. And I also ended up swapping out my kicker. I swapped Prater, I forget his first name, but the Detroit kicker, Prater, for Mason Crosby here, just because of the matchup. Green Bay against New Orleans, I think they'll put up some points. Both are pretty high-powered offenses, so I anticipate points to be scored there. Let's go up to the top though. But I am actually debating sitting Aaron Rodgers for Gardner Minshew here. Gardner Minshew has just done so well, and he always needs to pass for that team because their running back situation isn't the greatest. They do have James Robinson who is performing relatively well, but for the most part they're racking up their points via the air and via his passing. So I'm not exactly sure whether or not I'm kind of debating right now whether or not I want to bench Rodgers for him, because the New Orleans D is pretty good as well. Like they have, is it a safety or a cornerback? I forget. But Lattimore is probably going to be covering Devontae Adams here. And so, and it says questionable, but from everything that I'm hearing so far, the fantasy footballers actually put out, on their last podcast, they talked about how there was news that the little conspiracy theory was correct, or the theory was correct.
Devontae Adams, the hamstring injury does not look serious, nor a threat to playing time. Matt LaFleur says he wanted to go back in the game, so he should be back.
So it's we're definitely starting Devontae Adams. We're not exactly sure. We have to temper our expectations when it comes to his output. But yeah, it's you don't draft Devontae Adams and sit him for any real reason other than injury. Going down our list again, we do have Robert Woods. Robert Woods is playing against Buffalo. Buffalo has a good defense, but Robert Woods has been really steady over the last couple of weeks, and his last couple of matchups haven't been cakewalks. Well, Dallas's defense isn't great, but Philly's defense is very adequate and very I want to say above average. So he did perform against Philadelphia and Dallas, so I'm inclined to let him stay in here. If I was going to shoot for upside, which I might actually, we'll talk about that a little bit more when we start talking about our matchups here. But when if I was going to shoot for upside, I would probably go with Marquise Brown here, who's playing Kansas City. And Kansas City's defense is kind of in the middle right now. pretty average defense. So he kind of disappointed last week, where I was expecting a bigger game out of him, an explosion type game out of him. But that could be foreseeable for this matchup as well. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I'll have to think about that, whether or not I want to swap Woods out for Marquise Brown, particularly since we're not expecting a huge output out of Devontae Adams. Josh Jacobs, he's getting all the work. You're never going to sit Josh Jacobs. I'm never going to sit Josh Jacobs, so he's staying in there. Same thing with Chris Carson now. I think he's shown over the last couple of weeks that he is getting the work. He got a ton of rushing. He got a bunch of rushing yards, but he got a ton of carries, and he got a few receptions. So yeah, he's staying in my line. Like, he's probably going to be in my lineup in perpetuity unless he gets hurt for the foreseeable future. Because last week I was behind and I tried to get cute, so I ended up sitting Chris Carson. I sat Chris Carson, and yeah, so I'm learning from my mistake from last week, and Chris Carson isn't in my lineup. And then we have Jonnu Smith. Here's another little bit of a dilemma. Jonnu Smith did perform last week, but actually so did Mike Gesicki here. Mike Gesicki had a great week last week. He scored 23 fantasy points, and he got a ton of targets as well. What are the targets on here? That doesn't really show the targets on here. Okay. Well, but he got a ton of targets as well. I think he got 11 targets. So, and he's up against Jacksonville, which is probably the worst team in the league right now. But both, with Minshew, they're a little bit better on offense, but their defense is awful. So I'm kind of debating whether or not I want to start him or Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith is up against Minnesota, which also has shown to be an awful defense this year as well. So yeah, it's kind of a coin flip here. I guess, my feeling right now is I don't feel like I could go wrong with either choice, knock on wood. Don't want to jinx myself, but yeah, we're not sure who we want to start here, Mike Gesicki or Jonnu Smith. Okay, and for my flex spot right now, I have David Montgomery. He performed really well last week. I think he had like 20 fantasy points. He's getting all the work in this backfield. Tariq Cohen hardly even got any catches last game, so I'm not sure what's going on over there. But I do know that David Montgomery is getting all the work, and that little groin injury that he had to start the season in preseason, it seems to be very much behind him now. Going through our bench, Raheem Mostert isn't expected to play the next game. Hopefully he will play, or maybe he'll play week 4. I just checked Wire real quick, and it looks like Tevin Coleman is going to be out. I think he was just placed on IR is what I saw, so he'll be out for at least 3 games. I'm not exactly sure if Jimmy Garoppolo is going to play. I'd be surprised if he played this week as well. So not exactly sure how good they're going to be. Although they are playing, let's actually check Roto World real quick. I think they're playing, I could check. They're playing New York. So the Giants are a pretty low tier matchup. So even without Garoppolo and without, all their injured players, it'd be surprising to not see them squeeze out the win against New York. We could consider Antonio. Yeah, Antonio Gibson. I think I called him Anthony Gibson last week. Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson is carving out more of a role for himself in that offense. But considering our options right now, I don't feel the need to start him. I think Montgomery is already getting all the work. So Montgomery's floor is more or less, and especially since he's playing Atlanta, because Atlanta's defense is awful as well, and tons of points are going to be put up in that game, or should be put up in that game, relatively speaking, considering Chicago's offense isn't all that great. But They should, Montgomery should, that's a good matchup for Montgomery, I should say. And going down my list, I have Jarvis Landry, who is more just an emergency play. Washington's defense has been decent. I think I talked about it after the first week of the season. Yeah, their defense is pretty legit. So, yeah, Landry we will not be playing. And actually, you know what? If everybody performs the way they should, then I don't foresee, knock on wood again, ever needing to start Landry only in case of emergencies for that guy. And then we have Tony Pollard. That's just our lottery ticket. So actually, you know, before we get into our matchups, let's go ahead and go into our league transactions here just to see where everybody went. See, so it shows here that Brandon Cooks was actually taken by It's Going Down for Benny Snell. Yeah, I think he paid somewhere like 10 fab for Benny Snell, and everybody who paid up for Benny Snell is probably kicking themselves now. The backfield does belong to James Conner, so and you know, it's still a big question mark whether or not he could last the whole season, whether or not James Conner could last the whole season, that is. But yeah, expecting to have him play last week for week 2, that's a bet that really didn't pay off. And it looks like he already gave up on that bet by dropping Benny Snell here for Brandon Cooks. And I actually put in a $0 bid for Brandon Cooks, which apparently wasn't taken here. So it looks like he dropped Chris Herndon, who has also been underperforming the first couple of weeks for Dalton Schultz, who is the Dallas tight end that is taking the spot of Blake Jarwin. If I didn't have Jonnu or Gesicki, then I would have looked to pick up Schultz, I should say, as well. And then there's us picking up Mason Crosby. It looks like Christian Mingle over here picked up Darrell Henderson for Brandon Ayuk. That's a good pickup. Darrell Henderson did explode last week. He had a great game, and particularly with injury concerns with Malcolm Brown and the rookie Cam Akers, who had a pretty serious sounding anyways, rib injury, but not so serious that he's not going to play, but yeah, something like busted cartilage or something like that. And then there's us again. We picked up the Indianapolis Colts. I bet 1 fab for it, you know, just to make sure I get them. And then looks like Dak in the Box picked up Chris Thompson, and I imagine that's the Chargers because we actually kept the Rams defense. We're rostering 2 defenses right now just because I like the Rams matchup for next week. They are playing the Giants next week, so. And the Chargers do have a good matchup this week. They are playing, who are they playing? They're playing Carolina this week. So Carolina is also another awful defense, or awful team in general. So awful in the sense that they're just not good at football. But It's Going Down is making moves here. He put up 5 fab for Gaskin on the Dolphins. He is shown to be the lead back there. And also, just a quick note, It's Going Down. That team, actually, he is the Saquon Barkley owner of this league. So he had to drop Saquon, and he's really hurting at running back right now. So it makes sense that he's paying up for these running backs here. And it looks like Blue Balls, the guy who defeated us last week, has forked over some cash for Dion Lewis, although, you know, I'm not sure how good of a bet that is because New York just signed Devonta Freeman. So most experts imagine or forecasts that Devonta Freeman will be the lead back in that backfield. So, and I believe somebody, just down here, Voltron forked over, 50 fab for Devonta Freeman. Wow, he's just going all in for Devonta Freeman here. And you know, if you're hurting a running back, you know, those are the kinds of bets that you need to make. I'm not sure it needed to be that high for our league. My league here tends to be a little bit on the stingier side, so I'd imagine that somewhere between 30, maybe 25 and 30 would have been good enough. But I suppose whatever gives him peace of mind that he really feels that strongly about Devonta Freeman. So yeah, he got him. So, and it looks like it's going down. Got Mike Davis, the handcuff for Christian McCaffrey. It all yeah, it all kind of pretty much makes sense here. Yeah, we did make a bid for Mike Davis, Devonta Freeman, low bids, like $10 for 10 fab for Mike Davis, like 5 for Devonta Freeman. Yeah, again, I never really expected to grab those players, but just in case nobody like tries to pick them up, I just don't want them to go for free. So let's go ahead and look at this week's matchup. We are playing Booyah over here. Playing Booyah over here, and we are projected to lose by, it looks like 5-6 points, 6-7ish points right here. Okay, yeah, a little bit more than 7 points here. Sorry, my math is no good, but I'm not the greatest at the maths. But yeah, it looks like around 7 points here, so we might have to lean towards upside. And I'm not exactly sure who would be more upside here, Gardner Minshew or Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers week 1 scored a ton of points. He scored like he threw 4 touchdowns during that week against Minnesota. New Orleans' defense is way better than Minnesota's defense, but there is that upside there with Aaron Rodgers. So, but anyways, yeah, we're still debating whether or not we want to start Aaron Rodgers or Gardner Minshew. I might look to the footballers' rankings, the footballers' rankings for this week to tie break whether or not who I start there. And wow, okay. So we're facing Russell Wilson this week. If Dak Prescott wasn't enough last week, we are now facing Russell Wilson this week, who is up against Dallas and Dak Prescott again. So, oh man, that is a scary. That is a scary thing to see right now, because Russell Wilson is playing so well, and he is just racking up the fantasy points. Look at that, 39, 43. Geez, this is looking scary. We are projected losers this week for a reason, and I imagine Russell Wilson right there is a big reason for that. Yeah, he's projected to score 5 more points than Aaron Rodgers or Minshew for that matter. 6 points over Minshew. Devontae Adams, I would normally take over DJ Moore. Actually, DJ Moore is playing I almost said the Clippers there. The Chargers defense, and the Chargers have a really good defense. So, Devontae Adams against New Orleans defense versus DJ Moore and Carolina's defense. We should be outscoring him there, despite the projections that are showing right here. They're actually showing DJ Moore to be up a little bit more. Although, Lattimore is probably going to be on Devontae Adams for most of that game. But anyways, Devontae Adams is staying in our lineup. Robert Woods versus Darius Slayton. The San Francisco defense did take a hit because of all the injuries, but Slayton is more of a boom-bust guy, so I imagine Robert Woods will outscore him by a lot, or he will be outscored by a lot by Darius Slayton, because Darius Slayton, it's like Darius Slayton, all it takes is one play. He could catch like a 30-yard bomb, 30 to 50-yard bomb, and take it all the way to the house, and then he automatically score like 50 points, like 1,000,000 points on one play. So yeah, that'll be a boom bust matchup there. We'll see what happens. Josh Jacobs against Ezekiel Elliott. Let's get rid of that. There is okay, stop texting me, buddy. My homie needs to stop texting me while I'm recording a video. But anyways, where were we? Ezekiel Elliott versus Josh Jacobs. Okay, we're hands down losing. Probably losing that matchup, especially since we're up against New England's defense, which has looked pretty good the last couple of weeks. This will be, I'm not sure this will be, actually last week was the true test against Seattle, And you know they didn't look like like last year's New England defense, but they did look pretty good. So it's not the New England defense is nothing to laugh at, anyways. And Ezekiel Elliott is going to clean up Seattle. So man, that's another scary matchup there. Chris Carson in Dallas, we love that matchup. Austin Eckler in Carolina, that matchup is great too. Okay, I'm not feeling so great about my matchups here now that we're looking at things closely. Jonnu Smith against Tyler Higbee. Okay, that looks like it could be a wash. We'll see if Jonnu can come through for me again this week. Well, Jonnu Smith or Mike Gesicki, that is, can come through can come through for us this week. But Tyler Higbee is up against Buffalo, so Buffalo does have a good defense. We'll see. Maybe slightly the edges in our favor with this position. David Montgomery versus Miles Sanders. Okay, Miles Sanders has a cherry matchup against Cincinnati. Cincinnati's defense might be the worst in the league. Yeah, it has to be amongst the worst. Probably top 3 worst in the league. So yeah, that's another very scary matchup. And you know what, Miles Sanders did look good the last game. So Miles Sanders up against David Montgomery. I feel really good about that matchup in Atlanta, but not as good as I'd feel about having Miles Sanders against Cincinnati. So there's another losing side there probably for us. And then Mason Crosby versus Zerline. Zerline is actually the better kicker here too. But you know, it's always a coin flip with kickers. Kickers are a lot more unpredictable than the other positions. And then we have here Indianapolis against New Jersey, and then Green Bay versus New Orleans. Okay, we are definitely on the higher side when it comes to the defense. Although, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes to his senses and drops Green Bay for either New England. New England has a good matchup against the Raiders this week. Cleveland could be a good start against Washington just because of how awful Haskins has looked. If Golladay doesn't play, which I fully expect him to play, but if Golladay doesn't play, then Arizona could be a good defense to stream. But yeah, there's a few streaming options here that... Tennessee against Minnesota. Yeah, Minnesota's offense has looked pretty bad too. So there's another flyer that I'd also take ahead of Green Bay versus New Orleans. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers our my week 3 starters here, and the kind of dilemma, the kind of decisions that I'm going to have to make for this coming Sunday. Well, actually, do I have any players playing this Thursday? I don't think I have anybody playing on Thursday. No, I don't seem to have anybody on Thursday. So everything should be wrapped up this Sunday. So yeah, that's basically the situation so far for week 3, and that'll wrap up this episode. Thanks again for watching another episode of Vin Plays Fantasy Football, and I'll see you next time.